right, fellas. Sorry about all the technical difficulties. Bill Gates decided to just punch me right in the nutsack right as the show was starting. So my computer is doing funky things. So we're on the backup computer, but glad to have you all along tonight. No fancy music, no nothing like that. I don't have all my sound effects, no King of the Hill stuff. I feel pretty naked here, but glad to have you aboard. John Mueller, along with my brother Rick Mueller and Tyler Layton, and backed by popular demand and the fact that he's paying us all $25.
Sweet.
Mr. Casey Devers, glad to have you aboard here, sir.
Thanks, guys.
So lots to talk about. We'll get to a lot of stuff happens the last 2 weeks. We'll try not to talk about, our last game where we picked how many points the Chiefs would score. We'll try not to rub that in too bad with Tyler, but I think we were all I think we all guessed around 30 points, but they got a couple of field goals, didn't even score a touchdown, which was beyond anything. I'm glad sports betting is not legal in South Dakota yet, because I was putting a bunch of money on the Chiefs, and I would have bet against Tom Brady. Everybody said at work, don't do it. Don't bet against Tom Brady. And I would have lost a bunch of money.
Don't bet against the GOAT.
Nope. So what do you guys go ahead, shoot. I gotta get some stuff ready in the back end. So you guys just you let me know what you guys want to talk about. What's good in your guys' lives right now?
Well, first and foremost, John, I don't know who this Tyler Layton guy is you're talking about, but I do appreciate you all having me on the show. I saw the agenda, and I see that someone is going to talk bad about the mouse, the Disney Corporation. I want no part of that. So I'm just some random guy here today. And we already seen what happens when you talk bad about Bill Gates. Right.
Yes. Microsoft goes to getting ready, Windows ready. So I literally turned the computer off, and now it's been sitting saying it's getting ready. I don't know what we're getting ready for, but I hope it's something big. I hope it's something big on the back end.
Well, it can't be more exciting than this.
Well, I'm getting this shared out on the Facebook, because I had to log into everything. I'm on a completely backup computer, but hey, I don't know. So we're live we'll be on Facebook with that link too, live on YouTube. We will check the chat windows. If you want to chat something at us, we'll check that out tonight. Like we like to do on every start of every show, we like to talk about dadhood first, and if anything exciting in the world of dadhood, if anybody's got any good stories or anything they'd like to share.
Absolutely, John. I was hoping that we could talk about the ultimate temper tantrum and how us men deal with that, opposed to maybe how our wives deal with it, and just kind of set the place this week. My daughter.
Hold on, Casey. I'm going to go back incognito if we're going to talk bad about our spouses.
No, I'm not talking bad at all. We're talking about how as men, how do we deal with the ultimate temper tantrum? And from my experience this week, it's significantly different than our wives, well, at least my wife. And my daughter's come home from daycare every day this week. Tonight wasn't as bad. I'd say 2 out of the last 4 nights wasn't as bad, but literally after she eats, she's just an animal. Like, it's uncontrollable outbursts of crying, lashing out. And as a man, I kind of just throw my hands up in the air and leave it to my wife to deal with. And I'm looking for guidance, maybe from experts such as yourselves. Rick, you have several daughters, and John, I believe you have a daughter as well. How do you guys deal with that situation? Because me, I just want to throw a pillow against the wall. So
First off,
for guidance.
I've been out to eat with John several times, and I feel like we should go get Katie and bring her on, because John does the exact same things.
Is that right? All right, perfect.
Exact same thing. No, I handle it bad. I got a little example actually of this. So last night after church, Brindley wanted to go on the balcony real bad. Why she wanted to go on the choir loft balcony, I have no idea. So anyway, I told her during church, we'll go up there afterwards. I'm on the church council now, so I think I got free reign of the church. I can do what I want. Go
Right. Of course.
I own
Humble
the place.
brag.
God's house. It's John's house in God's house. So we walk up there, and we were talking to our in-laws for a little while, and about 5 minutes after church, go up there, and the door is locked to get up there. So
You don't have a key?
nope, not yet. We're still working on that. We're still working on that part. I prayed to God last night, so I'm thinking the key's going to show up for me tomorrow, but for his house.
Exactly
but
how that
no.
works.
So
If his door locking skills are like his computer skills, he wouldn't be able to use the keys. So
I think no, we're still getting ready for something.
Rick,
So,
what's the over under on that door actually being locked? John
Yeah,
operate the handle.
yeah, it was probably not locked. I would say there's a
no, I even had, because she started melting down right away, I even had her try the handle. She tried the handle, figured it was locked. I thought, that's going to prove. We'll do it next week. We'll go up there earlier. Still had a meltdown. So in my mind, I'm thinking right away, what can I give her to stop this meltdown? We got to walk through, exit a church, the entryway, and people are going to be down there. It's going to be awful. She's screaming her head out. So I immediately try to start making deals with her to see if I can calm her down. That's my go-to approach. So nothing would work. Tried ice cream when we got home. Finally, we settled on we'll stop at Culver's on the way home.
Nice.
So we had some people working in our house doing some trim work in the basement, finishing that up. So Katie was right ahead of us, 2 different vehicles. So I said, hey, honey, I got to get home. So you're going to stop and get Culver's because that's what Brindley wants. And they explained the whole story. Well, guess what Mom says?
no.
Mom says she's 4 years old. Deal with it. Do not give in to a 4-year-old and get her ice cream. So needless to say, I dealt with the screaming kid the whole way home. Got home, let Mom deal with it, went down in the basement with the guys that are working in my basement. So that's how well I handle it. I immediately turn to what can I do to make it stop as quick as possible, and it always backfires on me.
Sure.
Always.
Sure. So you're wrong, John. Rick, what do you do?
Oh, I'm probably not too far behind that. Yeah, I with the meltdown, I've kind of learned, I think, that at some point you just kind of have to walk away to a certain degree. Just let them do it, toot them out as much as you can, as long as they're not hurting themselves or destroying anything. Can't give them that positive feedback necessarily for some of those behaviors, but it's hard to do for sure. And that trust me, it's with the 3 girls, it's constant drama around here, and there's always stuff like that happening. So you just got to pick your battles.
I was so frustrated, and my wife and I are both sitting there, and my daughter won't come to me, right? She loves my wife or mom, and she's just standing in front of my wife, just screaming and crying, and she wipe away tears, and then she see my wife, and she'd be like, no, but she wouldn't hit my wife. She just kind of lash out, and we're like, we're not giving her a pacifier. We're not gonna, condone what she's doing and give in, and we're trying to figure out, we're giving her water. We're trying to give her some milk. We're trying to calm her down in any way, and then my wife and I, we just get to that point where we're frustrated with each other. It's your fault, you did this. And it's, after it's all over and done with, we're we're not mad at each other afterwards, but in the moment, because we're both just trying to calm her down, we're kind of at each other. And it's not a verbal cue that we're at each other. It's like, hey, we're at each other, our eyeballs are glaring at one another like Paul. And I was so frustrated the other night that I actually texted our daycare provider. This is our first child. I don't know everything. I just rely on parents and people who have many kids and friends. And I was like, what do you do? And she said the exact same thing you said. Rick was just like, give her space. Make sure she can't hurt herself. Don't give in. Whatever you do, don't give in. And I'm just like, man, every problem I've had in life, I just would throw, with her anyways, I just throw food at her and it's always worked. And it's not working anymore because it's happening right after supper.
That's a great That's a great fat dad approach, though. Just throw food
Yes,
at it, see if it
exactly.
works.
Never
Exactly.
found a problem that you can't just solve with more food.
Oh man, I mean, candy, whatever, but it's not working anymore, guys. It's not working, and this week has been a challenge when it comes to that with her, and hopefully, we think it's a phase because we're putting her down at it's before 6:30 at night now, and she's sleeping all the way till 7 in the morning, and it's just we just think she's exhausted. I don't know, but always looking for that positive feedback and how to handle those situations because I don't have a clue. And it sounds like as a typical dad, I'm doing the same thing that you guys do: give up, give up, let your wife take care of the problem. So, anyways,
that's another
my
great
story.
fat dad approach. So is let your wife deal with it.
Hear a noise in the. Did you hear that downstairs? I think the water heater is making a weird noise. I gotta.
Yeah, it's like that. I saw that video where I think it's the Bush Light guy where everything in the house breaks, but he just unplugs it and then he goes to Home Depot and place in the parking lot and hangs out with the guys for a while. Gets back and just plugs back the toaster in after being gone for 3 hours.
I need a part.
Need a part. Well, it was busy. You should have seen the lines there. It's not a bad approach. I've been known to just leave the premise, leave the area before. With girls especially, the moods can change so quick.
Sure.
And like Rick said, my wife is very good at knowing when they just need space. Just let them cry it out and go to their space, and that's just not my way of trying to deal with things. It just let somebody cry it out. That's not my first instinct. Is just let them cry it out. Tyler, how about you?
You're a fixer.
I'm a fixer. Yeah, people pleaser.
Let's see. What do I do in those scenarios? If I would ask my spouse, I think the answer would be never the right thing. So no matter what the approach is.
I hope you see
I feel like I've tried them all. But I think, John, just kind of like what you said, I always love to try to fix a problem. But sometimes you can't argue logic with a 1-year-old or a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old.
Or a politician.
Or a politician, yeah. So yeah, it depends on the day and it depends on the child because they're all a little bit different. Those personalities it's funny how soon those develop. But each one of my kids is a little different and we try to do the best we can, but you're 100% right. You give an inch, they're going to take a mile. And once they beat you, they know it. So you got to be really careful there.
Noted. Thanks, man.
Yeah, kids are master negotiators as well.
And don't negotiate with your kids.
Yeah,
just like terrorists. Don't negotiate with them ever.
Yeah,
I told you guys last time, anything you tell me, I'm going to hold true because everything everybody's ever told me has come to fruition. Every single thing. So,
John, I feel like we need a disclosure at the start of this show that just tells people don't listen to anything that we say. Don't take any of this advice.
Politics, parenting advice, anything. Just
matter of fact, probably do the opposite.
This is for entertainment purposes only.
Yes.
Especially don't trust the guy that works for an internet company that's trying to get a computer show started on Zoom. Don't trust that guy either. He has no idea what he's doing. So
you manage, remember?
Yeah, that's right. I'm a leader. So if anybody would answer the phone at 8:30, if I'd call them, they could maybe fix this for me. Who's on call tonight? Yeah, my Zoom won't start. My Windows is restarting. No, so politics, you guys, the topics we sent out, I very upfront didn't do a lot of research, left it all up to you guys tonight. So I'll let you guys pick who talks first and about what topic.
Well, should we jumping right in? Go ahead.
Should we just go with the order that we got them in and do Disney first?
Sure.
Disney.
Who did the most research? Go ahead and start.
Rick did.
So Disney. Cancel culture.
What did the mouse do, Rick? What are we talking about tonight?
Well, the actress, what's Gina Carano? Is that how you say it? Who played Cara Dune in The Mandalorian? Had some what Disney and the Twitter sphere considered as offensive tweets, and she would not apologize. So she is now not employed by Disney.
She was supposed to have her own show coming up here, starting end of the year or next year, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody want to say what that was on Twitter that she said?
Absolutely. The quote was, because history is edited, most people today don't realize that they get to the point where Nazi soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews. The government first made their own neighbors hate them simply for being Jews. So that was one of her comments. Apparently there's a list of maybe a period of like 4 months where she's made some comments. Obviously, everybody knows that Gina's a big Trump supporter. Disney, obviously not. But you know, her words were offensive apparently, and she was let go because that was the final straw, the final tweet, is my understanding.
Yeah, Disney never came out and said what tweet it was exactly, I don't think, but you know, around the media and everybody talks, it was that tweet that was the final straw, I guess. So
I'll pose a question. So obviously this comes to a broader topic, something we talked about last time, you know, cancel culture and the potential of cancel culture run amok. Is this another example of that? Or is, you know, Disney technically publicly traded company? You know, they've got their own sets of standards. Is this an okay thing for them to do? What say the fat dads?
Well, I think it definitely is cancel culture. But at the same time, I think you're right. I think Disney, or I mean, you asked the question, so I don't know your opinion on it, but like you said, I think Disney has the right to do it. That's their choice. You know, we believe in the free market, then people have their choice of how they want to react to Disney, which does sound like there has been some backlash against them. And I think they've probably given her more of a platform with the trying to cancel her. But yeah, I think it's definitely cancel culture. But yeah, it is a private company. What are you going to do? I don't know. That's my take on it.
And where I was at last week, you know, if you think that's what you want to cancel somebody for, then you better be ready to toe that line of everybody that's employed by you. And there was a lot of examples. I can't think of his name now. The actual Mandalorian guy, those guy.
Pedro.
Yeah. Where, you know, you can put some of his tweets up side by side with some of hers, and maybe are more offensive, more violent towards people, and signaling out certain folks, and nothing said about him. I don't know if that's because he's a male. I don't know if that's because he's more of the anti-Trump, anti-conservative crowd. But yeah, once you start towing that line, you better tow it for everybody. That's my take on it. I'll always be down the center on that. You know, it's a publicly traded company, or a private company. They can do what they want. But you better be down the middle. And that, you know, the government can't do anything about it, nor do we want them to do anything about it. I would love it if there's enough of us that are Star Wars fans that would just cancel our Disney Plus all at one time, you know, almost like a Wall Street bets type of scenario, to show these people that we don't like what they're doing. But at the end of the day, it's so hard for us to boycott products, you know, products or platforms that, you know, that's my take of it. We just can't. We can't. The boycott thing is such a hard line in the sand to do as an individual. And
it's even harder, John. It's even harder when you're Disney and you own everything, right?
Right.
They own Star Wars, Marvel,
Right.
Chronicles of Narnia franchise, Pirates of the Caribbean, Winnie the Pooh. The list goes on. They own ABC.
ESPN.
They own ESPN. They own FX. They own Hulu. They own A&E. They own stakes in the History Channel. I mean, everywhere you go, Disney they have a say in what's going on and what you are seeing, right? So they, in a way, kind of construe or make to light their agenda, if you will, maybe more available to more people. So, and then that involves censoring people as well, and specifically conservatives. And Hollywood, they've been trying to fire, they've been trying to fire Gina for months now, and
Right.
and like I said, she was a loud Trump supporter. And ever since she kind of came out and said that stuff, and she's not an abashed person or a bashful person about what she believes. She goes on Twitter and says it. I mean, another tweet she read right here. We need to clean up the election process so we are not left feeling the way we do today. Put laws in place to protect us against voter fraud. Investigate every state. Film the counting. Flush out the fake votes. Require ID. Make voter fraud in 2020. Fix the system. For some reason, that is yeah, that's a racist, and was part of the plethora of things that she said on Twitter that ultimately led to her dismissal. But I think she's going to be okay. I don't know if you guys heard, she's teaming up with Ben Shapiro to produce their own movies at the Daily Wire, and I think she's going to be fine. She's a loud voice, a powerful voice, and a woman, and then that's just I think she's going to be okay in the long run. But
yeah.
Cancer culture is real, and Rick and I we all talked about that very adamantly last time we spoke.
Yeah, I mean, and Hasbro also jumped in the fray, and they canceled her. Her toy lines as well.
Oh, really? I hadn't heard that.
Yeah.
Hey, do you have any? We could sell them on eBay if you have them. They're probably going for a lot of money right now.
I tell you what, yeah, if you have those, I wouldn't open the package.
Yep.
eBay's still a thing?
eBay's still a
Asking
thing.
for a friend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, and back to your thing about all the stuff that they own, is there a lot of antitrust stuff that, as a government that we haven't done enough with? I don't know if you call that antitrust, but, we broke up all the Big Bell telephone systems back in the day, or the one Mama Bell. But it seems like the last 10 years, all these big companies are doing it are buying up other companies. Google to Amazon. Anybody's got a good idea in there, they just offer more money and make it their own. And that's not good. It's the same thing. Like small farmers. There's not as many small farmers out there. More corporation farm, more big farms. That small farm where you spread that wealth around is good. Same thing with businesses. Downtown businesses, they're all getting shut down because of Amazon. It's that whole thing. Is it gonna be worse in 5 to 10 years? I don't see how the road we're on it can't look worse. But,
Yeah, I think you're going to see the shrinking of these mega corporations. And I think we talked about the stock market last time we stopped, and AMC was part of one of those meme stocks, quote unquote meme stocks. And AMC, you have Amazon is actually, looking at, has been looking at purchasing them. So you talk about, a blockbuster deal there. Amazon Prime, they make their own movies. Then they would also control theaters. Yeah, that's probably the way of the future for us. And is that a good thing? It's probably something we're going to have to sort out as a consumer and as a society.
and how do you not go buy stuff on Amazon? How do you make that decision that, especially, we're in Mitchell.
Well, John, apparently we use you as our tech guy, then we don't have to worry about it.
Because you're not going to get on the internet anyway. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough, and I think it's, like I said, it's gonna get worse. So, any more final thoughts on the Disney before we move on?
I would encourage people to look at where Disney shoots their videos. A lot of Star Wars stuff was shot in China. If you follow what's going on in China, the genocide of the Uyghurs, the Muslims in China, the camps that they put them in, literally concentration camps. If people are social justice warriors, this should be a big issue for them. So I would encourage people to do their own research on that. It's scary how silent Disney is when it comes to those atrocities to humans. So while they have a great image in the United States, they also like to turn a blind eye maybe a little bit to
Yeah, I
some of
think
the things that are happening abroad.
That's a strong point, right? It's one thing to fire an actress because you disagree with her politics, and you virtual signal that that you think a certain way, but then your business practices and how you make money direction. And I think that's something that, again, as a country, as a nation, and as a society, we should probably have more discussion points about. Probably stop canceling each other and worry more about the big picture. Um, and Casey's right. Everything you just listed, like look those up. There are literally concentration camps in China, and it's not a good thing. And lots of these folks, lots of these businesses, do a lot of business and change a lot of money. With the Chinese government, it's a big thing. We've talked about it for the last 4 years under Trump. We'll see what it looks like going forward under the Biden administration, but it's definitely something to be concerned about. I think as Americans and as people who want to, as fathers, obviously, I think we all want to leave the world in a better place than we inherited it for our children. So I think those are real conversations we need to have.
All right. So the next one, we wanted to talk about pipelines. A lot of talk in the news about the Keystone Pipeline topic here in South Dakota. Kristi Noem actually came out and called the media out in South Dakota and asked them why it's not a bigger story in South Dakota. You can kind of say what side you're that on with, some of the towns and some of the places that were pipeline towns, that kind of gotten shut down and all that. But I think, Tyler, you wanted to head with this one, and you did some research and found some pretty interesting, eye-opening facts.
Well, I think this story bleeds right into Casey's point around Disney and we say one thing, our business practices lead to another deal. We immediately right away signed executive orders, shut down new pipeline construction in the USA. But last week we go over and help Afghanistan and the Taliban solidify and put the finishing touches on a pipeline that goes through them. You can look up New York Times stories from 2018 where that tout the benefits of pipelines through those countries and Russia and how much money and economic wealth and stability they bring to those areas. And I think it's funny. It's good over there, bad here. I mean, if we're concerned about climate change, I think that's a global issue. So if pipelines are bad, I would assume pipelines should be bad everywhere. I think it goes strong into media bias. At the same time, if we look at what's happening in Oklahoma and Texas, technically this is a natural gas shortage. And obviously even the pipelines we have right now are not properly insulated to handle this. Just a cold snap like this, it sounds to me like we need more natural gas, and we probably need better and possibly newer pipelines in order to transport that natural gas. I don't know. What say you guys?
Well, one thing I tried to look up once you brought the topic up is I have a hard time believing that this is just an environmental issue like that, and this is like just something that he's doing for his voter base. So I tried to do some research, kind of the follow the money type thing, and there was just nothing on that. I still don't believe that I still believe that there's more of that story on that side, but there's no coverage on that whatsoever. So it makes it hard to figure that out.
Well, when you say follow the money, does it have anything to do with foreign powers? I mean, importing more stuff?
Yeah, I don't.
If we have shortages here, the first thing that's going to happen is we're going to start importing it.
Yeah, I don't. Go ahead.
Probably not. Obviously, we want to expand the green energy, but I think we're talking about follow the money. I mean, I think you're not being honest if you think that the people of Afghanistan are going to benefit from this pipeline. Most likely, there's probably American business people that are going to benefit from that. Politicians, And the warlords in Afghanistan, they're going to benefit from that money, not the everyday citizen. So to tout it up for that, it's just going to be this bring economic stability and prosperity, and then ignore the environmental impact. It's just disingenuous. It's disingenuous. I feel from the Biden administration, and then also from the news media for the lack of coverage on it.
You guys do realize, right? The Biden administration cancels the Keystone Pipeline, an energy source from Canada, from North America down to our refineries to keep us energy independent. Cancels it. It's bad for the environment. It's atrocious that we would do such a thing. Then they go and support a pipeline through Afghanistan in agreement with the Taliban. These are terrorists, right? I mean, that's what we've been told for 20 years since we've been to war with these people. So this pipeline's about almost 1,200 miles long. It's going to run from the gas fields in Turkmenistan through Afghanistan and Pakistan to India, right? Because India is the second world country. It has high demand for energy right now. Do not think that the Taliban will not profit from this, right? They're looking at this as a way to control things. Hey, we kind of have India, we kind of have Pakistan now, they're going to run pipelines off of this big pipeline into these other countries, for like Qatar and some of those other countries in the Middle East there. It's not everyday people that are going to be for this. But back to the point, Biden approves or agrees or believes this pipeline is great for the people of Afghanistan and working with the Taliban. And pipelines are so great now for Russia, to run their natural gas, literally their lifeblood, Russia's lifeblood, because they are on life support right now, into Germany to feed the German people and give them, they have a high demand for energy as well. In Germany, they're putting a lot of pressure on us as Americans right now to kind of approve, lift sanctions against Russia for these pipelines. Germany's seeking this deal. They've offered us stuff with ports and a bunch of other little things right now. And Russia, they kind of just, they actually violated some sanctions and they started January 6th. It looks like running this pipeline underwater, to kind of get it into Germany and feed the German people. And they're kind of just doing whatever. So I don't, we're giving powers that we deem evil more power. And I think that's something that we need to be suspicious of. And how it's bad for us as Americans, but it's not bad for people that have traditionally been evil or groups of people that have traditionally been evil. I think that this should be a red flag to anybody. This was covered in the media for about a day and a half, right? Because this is a losing subject for Democrats right now. So I think it's something that we need to take into at least the midterm election and say, hey, our people are freezing in Texas, and here we are siding with the Taliban. People who literally kill people for being gay, for a woman talking out of her place. All those atrocities that the left touts as just moral compass that is directly against what they believe. So
yeah,
mind-boggling the hypocrisy on this.
Yeah, I know. Or go ahead, Tyler. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to back Casey up on that. That's for me. I can totally understand both sides of the issue and both sides of the thought process around climate change and man-made climate change. But what just drives me nuts is the hypocrisy. How we can that's bad here, great there, in that the same people can be on both sides of this issue. And again, the media just gives a pass. We just don't talk about it. To me, that's just nuts. I mean, if piping natural gas is harmful for the planet, then we should be against it all over the place. We can't go in one spot and say, oh, it's okay there, it's great there, but don't bad here. I would sure like to think that the pipelines that we construct across our country will be better maintained, better taken care of, built with better technology than the ones that are built across Afghanistan and Pakistan. But
And we already have hundreds of pipelines that cross the U.S.
thousands.
Thousands of them. The Keystone is a very important one for natural gas. And the green energy people, I've learned more about energy with rolling blackouts this week, worrying about if we're going to lose power across the whole town. And when that happens, it's not good. I mean, we're generator backed up, but it's not good. So I was on the phone with a lot of people trying to figure how this stuff all works. But the one thing about green energy, it's great when it works and it's great when it's producing. Electricity is a just-in-time production. We can't store it. They produce right at the margins that they need for the demands. So when the windmills aren't going, guess what has to go more? Natural gas or coal. And that's the thing that people don't understand. If it's a green thing here, until we develop something that we can store that green energy, we're always going to need coal. We're always going to need natural gas. I'm more in favor of nuclear taking a part of that. But we don't have a way to just say, let's put up 10 million windmills and that's going to supply energy, because it's not possible. SPP, the pool that we're in South Dakota, Southwest Power Pool, they actually have a cool little pie chart that shows you what percentage of energy is being created at that moment. Coal is up at 50%. This week when this stuff was happening, wind was anywhere from 2 to 7 to 10%. Natural gas is at 40%. All the power plants we're building now the last 10 years are natural gas. We need natural gas. We could have 1 billion windmills, and unless we have a way to store it, it would never supply our energy needs. So these pipelines are important. And like Tyler said, if they're not working now and we're not building more, it's not going to get better. You know, we didn't have this problem. I'd never heard of rolling blackouts in a possible thing like this 10, 15, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. What's changed?
And John, I think this is a bigger topic as well. You're not wrong. I don't think anyone, at least us on this call, I'm for green energy. I want to utilize as much green energy as we possibly can. But you're right. I'm also not naive to think that we don't need other forms, and we should probably be less afraid of nuclear power. But I think a bigger point here is, in the summertime, we've seen this in California and on the West Coast, where we've had blackouts or brownouts due to the high increase in temperatures. Now we're seeing it in the Midwest in the wintertime. Yet we don't talk about fixing our power grid. We're not talking about actual solutions here. You put it very eloquently there. Right now, today, in most likely the next 5 or even 10 years, green energy can't supply all of the energy that we need as everyday Americans. So let's figure out what we can do instead of arguing over some of this ridiculous things that we've spent almost like the last 12 years arguing over as a country. Let's maybe start talking about some important things like our electric grid. And we're the first in the first world, and we have a third world energy platform. That's something that our politicians and our government needs to be focused in on. It needs to be talking about. Not whether or not we probably, instead of impeaching the same guy for the second time in a failed extent, let's do something that matters. Let's actually tackle the problems of this country. And I'm just getting to the point where I'm just sick of it. I'm fed up. Like, there's got to be enough of us where we can come together and actually start doing the things that matter.
Haven't we though, Tyler? I mean, we let China back into our power grid, help us develop that.
I'm sure that's
just
a great
saying
idea.
Yeah, exactly. I think you hit the nail on the head there. So it's power is important for Americans. Americans love their luxuries, right? We're not used to power grid failures. And I think that's going to be a big issue going forward. And how we tackle it as Americans is going to say a lot about who we are. So,
and I think everybody on this call, like Tyler said, we all agree green energy is good. That's what we're going to. But until we can do it, you can't force it. You can't force it until it's ready. So that's, yeah.
Yeah, look. We look at the state of South Dakota. The massive majority, at least during the summer months, of our power comes from hydroelectric. We've got wind farms all over the place. I would say as a state, we're all in on green energy and trying to make that work. But we shouldn't have people freezing to death in the United States of America. That's just, to me, it is unacceptable.
That probably is a good segue again to our topic. We want to talk about impeaching Trump and the Trump impeachment. And I think, Tyler, I like the way you said it. We should be focusing on other things. And it came out today, and I've always kind of been a Ted Cruz guy, but the big thing about Ted Cruz going to Cancun and how the media has been eating that alive. Optics there, his home state of Texas, like I said, freezing to death. Whether he has anything that he can directly do to help that energy crisis or not, probably not, but a little bit of optics. But it's once again, maybe he should have went down to Texas and figured out how the people that he's supposed to represent could need his help instead of going to Cancun. But, at the end of the day, I got a vacation. I don't care if I'm the leader. I'm going. It's just bad. It's bad optics. Whether it's right, it's not wrong. It's not wrong, but but to the Trump impeachment. So Rick, you haven't been able to put your 2 cents in for a while. So what do you think about? I guess, do you have anything more with the energy or right on the Trump impeachment?
We talk about green energy and our fragile power grid. I think people need to realize that this may be kind of more of a norm going forward. Expect things like this to happen. Real fragile. The thing, it's fragile, right? And I would just encourage people to look at, some of these solutions, maybe some of these green energy solutions that you can do personally as these prices come down on some of these things, battery banks and solar panels and whatnot, that, it might not be a bad idea to start thinking about doing some of this stuff ourselves, because we obviously are having a hard time getting our elected officials to look at this seriously and try to solve the problem. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, no, I green energy stuff is, batteries for small houses. The technology's come a long way the last 5 years. It's there if you want to spend some money. Maybe we give more subsidies to that instead of the big guys. Because obviously they have failed on the big level to get it to work. Maybe we start with the green energy at our homes.
Nice thing about the green energy and the windmills, I don't know if you guys see memes ever or whatever, but there is documented film pictures of helicopters burning those nasty fuels, de-icing the turbine blades in Texas. So the green energy, maybe we need to think about this a little bit harder. Maybe we need to put some sort of heated fan blade in these turbines going forward, so we don't have to burn that nasty pollutant helicopter jet fuel.
Which they can. I mean, those windmills were not designed to operate in those type of
in this
type of weather. Because they do put them. They put windmills in Antarctica, so they can build them there. I would encourage people to research as well what it takes to build a windmill, how much plastic goes into there, how much plastic would go into building the battery systems that you guys just talked about as well. If we're really concerned about, saving the planet and cutting down plastic in the ocean, which is a major issue, I don't know if our current green energy solutions are maybe the best solution for us. And that's something we're talking about.
Look at the subsidies as well, and what it takes for those things to be efficient and run and operate. So if it wasn't for the subsidies by UI and everybody else, taxpayer, green energy would be dead. That's for sure.
All right, so on to the Trump impeachment.
Yes.
I didn't do a lot of research besides I saw that our favorite senator from our home state, Ben Sass, turned against the Trumpster and voted to impeach his arse right out of Key Largo. Is that where he's at? We wanted to impeach him out of Key Largo, I think. But no, go ahead. Somebody take the reins on this one.
Honestly, I guess. Well, go ahead, Rick. Sorry.
You guys
are
on the same wavelength tonight. You guys or like every time start talking at the same time. It's amazing.
Great minds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I didn't pay a lot of attention to this impeachment. I think it was a big stage show for the most part. I think the outcome was well known before it even started. So I don't give a lot of time to that kind of political theater, I guess, but overall unnecessary. But that's I guess that's my take on it. But
I'm right there with Rick. I'm just not a big show trial guy.
Yeah, two-time impeachment champion Donald Trump, victorious again. I caught the beginning of it. If you guys start looking at the timeline, and I would encourage anybody that watches this, look at the timeline. January 6th, this riot, this insurrection took place, and it was fueled by his rhetoric and words. And then by the 12th, they were having of January. By the 12th of January, amendments were being thrown on the floor, or whatever's being thrown on the floor for impeachment, and they just had to pass this right away. Rush. And then all of a sudden, we get to it's not going to pass, and it's not a big deal anymore. The news is running on it. It amazes me that the media is not running on anything Biden. They are running on everything anti-Trump still, because that's where their ratings are at. It was a sham from the start. It's all it does is harden the base for Trump even more so. It unites the right even more so. It's a sham and wasted time of our politicians on their gas baggery of fumes and BS instead of taking care of the problems that we're having here at home. So
I was wondering, did the left and the media even really want to convict him? I mean, if they convict him, right, he can't run for office again. Kind of puts the knife in the back of their boogeyman. What are they going to talk about? What are they going to run against? They're still just anti-Trump, right? They're doing things just to be against Trump. And, there's all this talk. People are trying to, still stir it up, right? Like, is he going to run again? And I don't think they wanted him to get convicted of it, because then he kind of goes away.
It's eyeballs, it's coverage, and the one thing I tried to stay focused on, and I didn't really see this, but every network had wall-to-wall coverage of it. Every minute of it was on the whether it was NBC, CNN, everything had it. What else was going on during that time that the media should have been actually covering? Was there anything that they tried to push through in the Biden camp? I didn't really see anything come out. But anytime I see something like this that they kind of know is a farce, what's the other hand doing? It's the sleight of hand trick. And I don't know if you guys caught anything that the media really should have been covering last week. Well, it was wall-to-wall coverage on this, but don't think like all of that. They knew they weren't going to get the viewership. You talk to anybody, they didn't get the viewership. During that, nobody's going to watch that. Nobody's going to listen to politicians 10 hours a day. But did anybody see anything that they should have been covering, or they missed, or big things that happened last week? I didn't personally.
Well, I think the big things that that are going on are just a lot of Biden not following through on a lot of his campaign promises. Probably was a lot of it. They won the Georgia runoff based on the dollar amount of the stimulus checks they promised. They're waffling on that. Can't get that done. Ran on $15 minimum wage. Everybody's backing off on that now. I think those are the things that it covered. I think some of the big things.
Rick, don't forget, you guys need to pay for my student loans. I still have student loans. It needs to be paid for. We're not doing that anymore. It's even said as of last night or 2 nights ago on that CNN town hall. Who the hell runs a town hall when you're already president? But I guess when you have mental deficiencies, you do whatever you can to seem normal. So,
well, he did.
Yeah, I didn't see anything the week of the impeachment that was smoke and mirrors. I mean, how could you? Everybody was so focused on Trump. So,
yeah, and the other part of that is the zero vaccines when he took office, and the media trying to spin that. I mean, boy, the Trumpster couldn't say anything wrong without the media being all over him. And now I watched a little bit of that town hall, and what point is it become gas because it becomes just your mental ability is not there to lead the country. I heard a rumor that Kamala, I mean, whatever, she's
Your next president.
She's actually the one making calls to foreign leaders. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but I've heard that in a couple of different sources that they don't even trust Biden to make the calls to foreign powers, and that I don't know if anybody's heard that, but that's one.
Speaking of calls of foreign powers, and then we'll kind of get off topic. Do you know that we have not called Israel yet? Literally the one place of freedom where our greatest influence is in the Middle East. We have not called Netanyahu yet. I'm flabbergasted. It's literally a 5-minute phone call, right? There's so many hours in the day. I guess if you didn't close it up, everything up by 2 p.m. and shut down, you could probably get it done. But anyways, I find that I'm flabbergasted by that.
But if you talk about Jews, you get canceled. So maybe he's scared about that.
I think so. I heard something that gave me great pause this week. I was listening to a program, and someone had said that the thing that we are missing, that we're not seeing, is that whether it be healthcare, immigration, Trump, whatever it may be, global warming, politicians don't actually want to solve those problems. That's why they never get solved, because having a problem gives you something to run on, gives you something to raise money on, and gives these folks something to fight about, and to pit everyday Americans against each other. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. That's something we probably need to think about. Maybe that is why nothing seems to get done ever. That
was happening in South Dakota. I mean, you guys like to pass your pot laws and get stoned all the time, but now your judges and your elected officials are saying no. I mean, you tell me, good, bad, and different. What's going on with the Sodak exit, the Brexit of South Dakota, so to speak, that you guys can't get anything done now?
Yeah, this is unfortunately the second time that the will of the people has been overturned in the last 4 years. First, it was a initiated measure that was going to set up some anti-corruption, kind of some real teeth to some, holding some of these politicians accountable to, some of the monies and donors and perks and that kind of thing. Of course, the first thing the legislature gets done as soon as they get back in Pierre after that passed was they repeal it and replace it with something with less teeth. And not only did they repeal it, they repealed it with an emergency clause in it. So then it makes it untouchable by the voters to overturn it as another referendum. And then just this recently, we 10% vote, I think, was it 54 to 45 or something like that, passed a recreational marijuana.
Yep,
and then this is the fun part. Basically, the state of South Dakota, we are suing ourselves. The governor comes out and authorizes these people to sue, so they have standing, and the state's paying for it to sue. And the people who are defending it is our attorney general. So in essence, the state of South Dakota is suing itself and paying to fight and defend the law. And of course,
can I sue myself? Can you do that? Like if I went down to the courthouse and wanted to file papers that I am, would they let me sue myself?
I don't think so. I think they throw that out pretty quick.
What if I paid Tyler to represent my other self, my alter ego, myself? Would that, because that's kind of what's happening.
I think if you just paid for Tyler's legal expenses to sue you, I think that's okay.
Got that.
I'll pay to sue you, John.
But it's just ridiculous. And I know I don't know. I just can't. I'm speechless about it. I guess I just don't understand how this keeps happening. And the amendment this time, the marijuana one, got overturned because of the single use, which we passed 2 years ago as an amendment or single topic. But I think, at least for my opinion, I don't know about anybody else, but when I was voting on the single topic thing, I think it was more along the lines of, you hear about these bills in Washington that are 1,500 pages long that get all these weird things get thrown in there for the political deal. Not when it's, in my mind, a bunch of different topics referring to the same thing. So I think it's just, and of course those amendments are written in such a way that puts the power in the judge's hands, and an ANOMA appointee from last year gets in there and strikes it down.
Well, two things that I've heard a lot this week talking to people about that. One is that a lot of outside money was spent and not a lot of in-state money was spent on defending it. So that a lot of outside powers, and my point back to that is we still voted for it. It doesn't matter who spent the money. The people of South Dakota still voted for it. And the second point now is escaping me because I had such a good first point. Oh, geez, it's been a bad night. No, it's still the will of the people. We voted to pass this, and it wasn't close, right? It wasn't close. So as a politician, you should look at that and say, hey, even if this doesn't make sense because it shouldn't have been. Oh, my other point was, why wasn't this brought up before it was on the ballot? Why wasn't Noam out there fighting and saying, hey, this isn't constitutional. I'm spending money on the front end to say, hey, this isn't right.
Well, how does this stuff get out? Like, if it's not a legal amendment, why the heck was it put on the ballot? I mean, it just feels like, obviously this is just all a legal loophole that we've created in order to overturn this. Which to Rick's point is this ridiculous. At some point, we put it on there, we voted to pass it. It is what it is. Let's move on. If you don't like it, go out, get the signatures to try to repeal it, put it back on the ballot.
Right.
Sounds like we got runaway government here, runaway judges. Judge Christina Klinger, of all people, who was appointed as a circuit judge by Kristi Noem, basically said this is unconstitutional. And of course, your governor praises this. And how are South Dakotans going to hold your governor and now this judge accountable for their actions? Are you guys going to vote to overthrow them? In Iowa, we had the same thing happen with gay marriage. 3 judges came in and said not having gay marriage is unconstitutional. The will of the people, the next voting process came around because we never got to vote on it. And it's a separate issue, don't get me wrong. And I believe it's the people's will, not the judge's will, not the court's will. They interpret laws, they don't make laws. This is another judge doing the same thing. Anyways, in Iowa, we voted 2 or 3 out. I think we got our point across as Iowans saying, hey, we would just want to vote for this. Me, myself, I would vote for legalizing gay marriage. That's just my own personal belief because that's my opinion. People don't have to like that or whatever, but runaway government, runaway judges, deciding the rule of law from the bench. This is something that's happening a lot throughout the United States. And, your governor supports this judge's deal. And I guess my challenge to you South Dakotans is, are you going to change your politics and how you vote here moving forward, right?
Well, and the point I'll get back to, if I remembered my second point from this point, we're in session right now in South Dakota. And you not just voting for the governor, but there's a lot of district senators and House representatives that could bring a bill forward to make recreational marijuana legal. Okay, so say the amendment doesn't work, but as the people and as the people you represent want marijuana to go through. If they wanted to make that go through, why isn't there being bills brought forth right now while they're in session to say, hey, whatever, unconstitutional with the amendment or not, the state of South Dakota, the people still wanted it to happen. So we are going to introduce legislation to make the will of the people happen. It'd be very easy for them to do. Now, maybe they still wouldn't get the votes, but they're not even tabling that. That's not even in a committee. So the will of the people still could happen even after the vote, and it's going nowhere.
Yeah, and I hope that we can, change how people vote, and people wake up to this. But unfortunately, in South Dakota, the Republican Party, good or bad, has a stranglehold on it, to the point where, where our attorney general hits somebody with his car, right? Kills them, doesn't get charged with anything major today. That came out. If they put him back on the ballot, I have no doubt that it'll win again. It's whoever the Republican Party blesses to put on the ballot. They may run some primaries, and they may put some people out there that aren't going to win. But I have no faith that if anybody, you can't win if you don't have an R. I mean, if you look at the state legislature, it's there's 3 senators and 6 representatives that are Democrats.
Right.
It's a tough road, and we're just not, for whatever reason, people aren't seeing what I'm seeing, I guess.
Does this divide the Republican Party, this specific bill on marijuana legalization for recreational use? Does this divide the Republican Party in the state of South Dakota? I'm just curious as to how you guys feel, what voters are saying up in the north.
Yeah, I don't see it dividing it. I think there's a pretty strong culture of just lockstep with the party in the state. I don't see it changing. I haven't, to me, the story isn't necessarily the marijuana part about it. It's the overturning of people's will, and it's the ridiculous fact that we're suing ourselves. But that's hardly talked about. I don't see that being mentioned or being brought up.
And I voted no on marijuana, and I absolute shit show was happening. I was against it on the vote.
Yeah, I don't see this as a hill that anyone is going to die on. That's going to break up the basically essentially the one party system that we have in this state. But I do think it's concerning. I agree with Rick that the people voted, and this has happened before. And then the people who we vote for to represent us in our state legislature go and overturn it. Something's got to change there. Yep, there's got to be more accountability, and either we have to fix how things get on the ballot, so that they're not illegal. We shouldn't be voting for things that are illegal, that the state that can't be implemented if they're passed. I think it's a bad look for the state of South Dakota. And we need to do something about that. That's going to change.
I think there is a bill out there that they're working their way through, that they're trying to set up some better checks and balances to make sure that this stuff challenges happen up front instead of on the back end, which, I may have a little concerned about how they're doing that and where the power gets placed on who decides whether it's constitutional or not, and the amount of effort it might take if you get some attorney general who just says everything's unconstitutional. But
or is it 3 Phat Dads podcast? And we gotta talk about the name, since it's now 3 Phat Dads and a bald guy. We might have to but actually Casey now going with no more locks of love. I kind of like the
I got made fun of last time I came on the show, and I wasn't as clean cut as apparently you guys have a dress code and an appearance code that I need to adhere to. So I took her down a notch and trimmed up the old beard a little bit. And I'm going to be honest with you, my wife is a lot happier. So it had nothing to do with you guys. That's what I do now.
No, but I was going to say, are we prepared to? Are we at the point where we are calling out state representatives by name? Are we not at that point where we want to go down that road yet?
You're the host, John.
All right, I'll chicken out and say that I heard one of our elected Senate representatives. Well, that probably narrowed it down too, right? But I heard him on an interview that said basically that my first job as a state senator is to uphold the Constitution of South Dakota and not basically the will of the people. And I thought, yes, that is your job to uphold the Constitution, but to play that card now is everything that's wrong with a politician. They will do anything they can when it's to get them power or their way to bypass that Constitution. But when it's the will of the people, the Constitution overrides everything. So, just my
John, I think you're at the point, and just my 2 cents. You guys, we, us, everything is at the point now where you can say names. I mean, I think we had like 60 views last time we were on. I'm just saying, things are getting pretty big time here. I will definitely call out if something happens in the state of Iowa. I will say every single one of their names with no remorse on the.
I'll make sure I have the exact quotes next time, because if we do that, we better get the right quote, because that would be what I would do. I would quote it wrong, and then it would
Absolutely.
But like you said, even if the constitutional amendment that they're using to overturn this constitutional amendment was written very vaguely, so it's up to the interpretation of a judge. And sure, if you can support the lawmaker, the senator, he can support the upholding the Constitution, but that doesn't get him off the hook for not stepping up and putting something out there that does what the people wanted, that is constitutional, like you said before. So that's a kind of a cop-out answer in my mind.
Yeah,
fire him.
Yep, I think and that's kind of one of the reasons I wanted we kind of wanted to start a show, so that way some of this stuff comes to the light, and maybe there are enough people like us that just aren't going to vote with that R next to that person's name, and maybe we can make a difference. Primarying people out is a huge thing. We don't have term limits, but that's about all we can do is primary people out. So
we are doing this. We have state level. We have term limits.
We do.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Governor, senator, and House representative, they all have term limits.
Well, look at this guy. He didn't even take South Dakota history growing up. It was Nebraska history, the unicameral, and he's coming dropping knowledge, the knowledge bomb. No, if nobody else has anything, we've gone over an hour even with my technical difficulty snafu. I would like to report that my computer is not broken. I can actually get into Windows now, so that's exciting. So
well done.
Next couple of weeks from now, I will just actually reboot the dang thing maybe at like 5 o'clock, so that way it's ready by 8:30 to go. But Tyler, we'll go around the Zoom. If any last words, any last thoughts, kind of just wrap it up from everybody's point of view. Last word.
Well, last words for me. Great conversation, fellas. It's another fun, interesting conversation. Enjoy it. I think we covered a lot of issues tonight. That's all I got.
Rick?
Yeah, good conversation. Really like some of the topics you talked about. I think the big takeaway here for me is just encouraging everyone just to look into these things yourselves, do some research, pay just attention just a little bit, and just be involved. That's the takeaway I have, I guess.
All right, Casey.
Yeah, mine's going to be a little bit longer than those two. One, we lost a
I'm gonna crack open a beer. I'll be right back.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we lost a legend yesterday. Rush Limbaugh, obviously, either loved or hated man, a lot like Donald Trump, but he was a man that influenced policy, and he was a pioneer in his industry. And would I listen to him sometimes? Yes. Do I always agree with what he said? No, but he will be missed on the right because he was a person that led people on the right. So condolences to him and his family, or his family and his friends. Also, stay involved, people. Stay involved in everything that you do. Know that there is information out there. You just have to go about 30 pages into a Google search to find it, okay? And to educate yourself as best as you can. And I'm just an old redneck from east or south central Iowa, and I can find at least some articles here and there about things that are happening in your state and in my state and countrywide and in the world. And our biggest problem right now is teaching people how to access it. It's there. Just try it. Try it for 10 minutes a day. Just access information, and your mind will be blown. I'm telling you, mine has been. So have a great night.
Yeah, I will close on just, like you guys all said, do your research and realize that what we hear mostly is the fringe left and the fringe right. But most of us are really close to center on either side. And there's a lot of good people out there, and don't get stuck with the people that are the nasty ones out there on both sides, because 90% of the people are right in the middle. So just, do your research, and we'll be here to bring up some topics. And every 2 weeks, I think we're going to do it kind of set on a bi-weekly schedule. Thursday night's kind of been the home, so I promise I will do better next time. I will increase my tech game, my IT game, and we'll see you guys all in a couple weeks. Thanks for listening, and tell a friend. And if anybody wants to come on, the invitation's always open. We'd love to have some different insights and different thoughts from different folks. So, good night, everybody.